come to the right spot. It's another edition of Lewis at Large. 60 minutes of smart talk radio is in your future with guests from all walks of life and all points of view. And now with this week's edition of Lewis at Large, here's your host, Warner Lewis.
Well, welcome everybody to this segment of Lewis at Large Radio, and of course yours truly, Warner Lewis, from the flight deck again, and smart talk radio in your future. This segment going to be an interesting one. We're going to be talking to Judita Wignall. Who is Judita Wignall? She is an actress, she is an author, she's a print model, she's also a musician. And where else, of course, is she from than Los Angeles? That is probably a story in and of itself, which we'll talk to her about. But we're going to be talking today specifically about how to eat well and live radiantly. The work is called Raw and Simple, 100 truly quick and easy recipes for the raw food lifestyle. First time talked about on this show for sure. Hey, Judita, how are you, my friend?
I'm great, thank you. Thanks for having me.
You bet. Thanks for being here. With us, we have talked to several chefs. We've talked to several authors of cookbooks. We've never talked specifically about the concept of raw food. But let's before we dive into that, let's give our Lewis at Large listeners, again, a little bit more of a background on you. Again, you're a writer, and you're also an actress and model. Share with us a little bit about your career.
I've been a commercial actress and model for several years now. I'm actually just finally kind of retired that and just focusing on health and nutrition just because it's more fun, to tell you the truth. But yeah, I've been a musician since the 90s. I've been around. And I got into health several years ago because of being on camera all the time. You got to look good. You got to be radiant. You got to look a lot younger than your years. So that's how I kind of stumbled into raw food, because I heard about how great it was for making your skin glow, keeping you thin, and that's how it all got started about 6 years ago. And
what about, understand, was some of this related to some personal health issues you had?
Yeah, I had acne. I had adult acne, and I just wanted to get rid of it. And so my friend who was vegan, she said, you should switch up your diet, because I was really into that high-protein thing. I know people are into the paleo, but back then it was the Atkins. And so I was eating a lot of meat and eggs and really heavy stuff, and not eating like fresh fruit and vegetables. And so I thought, I'm going to try something different for a while and see if that helps. And it did. It was really amazing. My skin cleared up. I lost 15 pounds in 1 month, and I wasn't overweight, but I got really thin, model-esque, and
model-esque.
Feeling amazing. And I just thought, I'm not going to go back to how I was eating, because I'm just going to break out again and, gain the weight back. So I stuck with it, and I just loved it. And, 6 years later, I'm still doing it and writing books and trying to inspire other people to eat a little healthier.
Right. Well, let's do this. Let's talk specifically, just conceptually, about eating, the whole concept of eating just raw food. Describe sort of where, if you know anyway, the origins of that. I mean, some of it makes sense, obviously, but the origins and again, the sort of conceptually how you approach food differently.
Well, basically, I just try to eat foods as close to its natural state as possible. So I don't heat my foods. I try to just blend them, chop them up, different kinds of simple food prep that just preserves all the nutrients that are in it so that my body absorbs all of it. The problem with heating our food, and I'm not against eating cooked foods because I do eat some cooked food too, but when you start adding heat, you degrade the nutrients. You lose all those vitamins. You change the amino acid chain so that the protein is less bioavailable to you than if you just ate it raw. So that's basically the concept, just trying to keep it as close to its natural state as possible so that your body benefits.
Do you find that part of, what many would say, probably 99% would say, that part of the joy of food is the sensory and the sensual difference of cold foods, room temperature foods, warm foods, etc. Do you miss that?
Well, yeah, but there are different techniques that you can do to achieve that. in my first book, Going Raw, there was I used a dehydrator to warm my food and to just give it different kind of texture. And it only went up to 118 degrees. That's how high really you should be heating your food if you want to keep it raw. That way you're preserving the enzymes. And it's not hot, but it's warm, and it is nourishing, and it feels good. It feels cooked. The new book, I didn't use any dehydration because I wanted to keep it simple. But there's, by keeping your food maybe not in the fridge and having it room temperature, that helps. But I also put in my new book how if you are in Canada in the winter, don't try and start a raw food diet in January.
Right.
I live in Southern California. We have food growing all year round. It's warm here. It's in the 70s. So it's easy for me to stay raw all year round. But if I was up north, of course, I would eat a lot more raw foods, like gently cooked foods like soups and, gently cooked grains like quinoa or brown rice and, baked vegetables, things like that, but also incorporating some raw stuff like raw juices, and you can make really great raw soups that you can just heat really gently over your stovetop. You don't have to get anything fancy like a dehydrator, and just keep it, if you can put your finger on the pan and it doesn't burn your finger, you're not hurting your food. So it's safe. I think about a jacuzzi is like 105 degrees. That's pretty hot. And you can go, a little higher than that. So it's not completely cold, freezing foods every meal.
We are talking to Judita Wignall. She is an actress. I guess she would call herself a former actress and model, but I suppose she could be called into duty at any time. But she is, just as importantly, she's an author. We're talking about a new work called Raw and Simple. It's Eat Well and Live Radiantly with 100 truly quick and easy recipes for the raw food lifestyle. It goes probably without saying, but I'm assuming that if you were to commit to a diet like this, whether you heat your food or not, that basically all meat and animal product are out. Is that correct?
Well, that's what I'm advocating in my book, is to just cut those things out. I kind of look at the raw food diet now, for most people, for most practical people, is to use a raw food diet more as a cleansing tool than to just, go 100% all the time. If you're going to go 100%, I would say keep it vegan and just focus on the fruits and vegetables and let your body rest from animal products for a while. And then, if you feel like you need it and you want to go back, to eating, cleaner, grass-fed, pasture-raised kind of clean foods, and then incorporating at least 50% raw foods like salads and smoothies and juices and yummy, simple things that, are not hard and fancy to make, that are really super delicious.
Got a question for you, and I've asked this of several that have come on that have really been pushing and believe very, very strongly in the whole world of of an organic diet. What do you say to those that say, "Boy, it sounds tremendous"? A, don't know that I can convince my family to go this route, and B, it is also very much more expensive, or so it appears at first glance, than other food lifestyles. What do you say to that?
Well, unfortunately, good quality food is expensive in general. I mean, if you eat cheap food, if you want to get a bucket of, chicken wings, it's going to be cheap, but that's cheap quality food, or a pizza. It's so low grade. It's not nourishing to the body. And some of these things like in packages, processed foods, I wouldn't even call them foods. It's just cheap calories. So no matter what diet you do, even if you did something like a paleo diet, you want to eat the best quality foods in the world, and it's going to cost a little bit more. But if you buy foods that are in season, like I'm just eating oranges right now because there's tons of oranges right now in Southern California. And so if I just try to eat seasonally, and it's not expensive at all, I get a box of local fruits and vegetables shipped to me every week from local farms. It's $40. And it's tons of greens and avocados, and I've got kiwis and squash, and it's a lot of food, and it's organic. So if you look, you can find affordable food. Look at the farmers market. Check out these different CSAs in your area, and you can get food that is very affordable. And then you're going to have to spend just a little bit of time learning how to prepare them.
Right.
But it's so worth it. Your health is worth it. And, I'm not pushing 100%, raw diet for everyone. It's such a personal choice, and to make your family do it, I don't think you should. You got to just do it for you.
Right.
But definitely include a little bit every day. Smoothie. People love smoothies. Doing some soups, make raw desserts. There's a lot of really fun stuff in my book that's very doable, simple recipes. You can go to any health food store. It doesn't even have to be health food. It could just be a regular, whatever, grocery store. And you'll be able to find the ingredients. I really made an effort to not make it too weird for people, and very doable. Get some olive oil, get some lemons, get some garlic, get some green leaves and some other, whatever, nuts and things like that. And you can make really cool, delicious stuff that I think everyone in the family could appreciate.
All right, well, let's do this. Let's create an imaginary meal for people. Let's start off. Let's just do sort of salad, main course, side dish, and maybe a dessert. Give us a quick, just kind of off the top of your head, a good, nice raw salad.
I have a really great kale salad. It's marinated, and so you kind of massage it with some olive oil and avocado and sea salt, and you massage it until it gets really soft, and so it doesn't taste so bitter and chewy. And then I put like hemp seeds in it and capers, and chopped hazelnuts, and it's delicious. It's one of my favorite salads, and it's in the new book. So that would be a great starter. Or like a simple soup, like I have a cucumber basil soup. Takes 5 minutes to make, and it's amazing. All my friends who've tried it said it's so good. They're addicted to it. They eat it every day. And then for a main, one of my favorite things is noodles, and you can make raw noodles very simply with like zucchini or daikon radish, carrots, butternut squash. And you can just use a vegetable peeler to just make ribbons, or you can get a little utensil that will actually spiralize it into noodles. And then you can make great sauces like a raw marinara or a raw pesto sauce. Whatever you dress it with, it's going to taste amazing. It'll just taste like that. And so I've got recipes, lots of noodle recipes in here, like Thai noodles, marinara pesto. I've got a sage cream. It's really, really great. And then raw desserts are my favorite. You can't go wrong. That's how you introduce people to raw food, is make them a raw dessert, and they'll get hooked. And so I've got a lot of frozen treats. I've got apple pie. I've got some superfood bars, seed bars that I've got. My neighbor's addicted. They come over every day like, did you make these bars again? I've got cupcakes, and these desserts taste not healthy, but they are. They're just full of great nutrients, and they're low glycemic, and that's I call it kind of the gateway drug into raw food. Is just
right.
Get them hooked on the sweets, and then they'll be a little more open to the rest of it.
What about Judita? I'm curious. Do you use any dairy products at all? For example, like cheese, where it's refrigerated, but it doesn't have to be in freezing cold. Is that ever part of the mix at all, or apparently not?
If I'm, going through like a cleanse, if I feel like being 100% raw, I wouldn't eat any dairy. I'm not a huge fan of dairy. I'm not completely against it. If you're going to eat it, I would say get raw, unpasteurized dairy. I know some states you can't find that. In California, you can buy raw milk and raw cheeses that are pasture-raised, all organic, good stuff. Or eat fermented dairy like kefir, organic kefir. I'm just not the hugest fan of dairy. I don't really think it's should be a part of our our food groups. Many civilizations never ate any dairy at all, and they lived just fine with no osteoporosis, no dental problems. So I'm not the biggest fan, but I'm not completely against it. For some people, it's can be really nutritious food. If you're underweight, it's good. If you're overweight, don't do any dairy because it's a weight gain food. It's hormonal. You'll gain weight.
Okay. Yeah. In the whole world of raw and simple, what percentage of your diet do you think, when you're following this pretty strictly, are fruits versus vegetables?
Can you say that again?
I'm sorry. What percentage of what you eat are from the fruit group versus the vegetable group?
I never really thought about that. Usually I like my fruits in the morning just by themselves, like in a smoothie or as a little snack. I don't eat a ton of fruit because for me it's just, I don't like too much sugar in my system, so I tend to focus on like low glycemic fruits like strawberries or a little bit of kiwi or apples. Right now I mentioned that oranges, so I've been eating a little more oranges, but I don't really do a lot of tropical fruit. So I would say 10 to 20%, maybe 100, 200 calories a day of fruit, and then the rest is just tons of vegetables. I've just become very savvy with them. If you look at my book, I've got great salad recipes, and my mains are all vegetable-based with some nuts. They're high fiber, they fill you up, they're high in protein, and that's just really, I believe that should be most of your diet, whether it's cooked or raw.
What about, I'm sorry to cut you off. What about, there are listeners out there thinking, this sounds like something I could certainly explore, but I can't imagine introducing this to my children. Tell us how you'd introduce something like this to kids, because you're talking about the V word with kids, vegetables. It is kind of challenging, I think, with the kids. I would say don't push it too hard on them. I would say give them fruit smoothies. It's a great one with some greens put in there, and we call them green smoothies. It's basically you can sneak in some spinach or kale or some other kind of green, and they won't even know it's in there. You just put some blueberries in there, make it purple instead of green, and they're not going to know won't be any wiser. And I would say that's the best way for kids. Is just you got to kind of sneak it in there. Well, it is an interesting concept indeed. We've talked about organic cooking. We've talked about organic lifestyles. This one probably takes it one more step. The work is called Raw and Simple. Eat and live radiantly with 100 truly quick and easy recipes for the raw food lifestyle by Judita Wignall. And she has spent quite a bit of time not only researching this, but also living the lifestyle as well. Can you tell us, how can we find out a little bit more about, you have an earlier work that you mentioned, but also how they can get a copy of this book?
My first book is called Going Raw, which is also an introduction to the raw food lifestyle. And it's fully illustrated step-by-step, all the different recipes, but some of it's a little bit advanced for people who really like to be in the kitchen. So that's why I wrote Raw and Simple, to just help people who are like, I'm busy, I want to try this, I just don't have time, I don't want to go look for weird contraptions and things. So I wanted to keep it really simple, and that's why I wrote this book for the busy people. And both of them are available on Amazon. You can also visit my website, Large-Judita.com, for a little more info about me, and it'll also take you to my store as well.
Well, thank you very much for your time, and good luck with this. And
thank you.
And we will follow your travels and exploits with great interest. And glad you don't have acne anymore, because you just I'm sure that like as you said earlier in the interview, once that went away, you were sold on this, and I totally understand that for sure.
Definitely. Once I always challenge people, just give it a month. Just give it a shot and see what happens. Because I was a musician as well, and I had arthritis in my hands that went away. And it never bothered me, but once it went away, I was like, well, this is awesome. This is a nice little side effect. And as soon as I start eating, not so good foods, it comes back. So there's just, your body sends you messages. And sometimes you don't get that message by eating, a regular standard American diet until you change it up and you go, wow, I didn't think it was possible to feel this good. And so that just kind of keeps you like, okay, I don't think I want to go back to those foods anymore. So just give it a chance.
You
just
bet.
Give it a try. You don't have to do it 100% for life, but just give it, 1 month and see what happens.
Again, her name, Judita Wignall, and the book is Raw and Simple on Quarry Books. Thanks so much, and we will talk to you again soon.
Okay, thank you so much.
You bet. We will be back with more right after this on Lewis at Large.